Hello, I'm coming to you from our new studio. I'm here meeting with contractors, architects, so construction can get started very soon. Recently, our ministry team was in Washington, D.C. for the International Religious Freedom Summit and the Religious Freedom in America Conference. These are not Christian events. These are global gatherings where organizations of all faith and all nations converge on Washington, D.C. to advocate, protect, and advance religious freedom for all people, everywhere, all the time. Our ministry team was there as ambassadors representing Jesus Christ and his people in all nations' public squares of business. Please enjoy this Jesus Christ CEO TV interview with our next guest.
Hello again, I'm back with Todd Huizinga. Todd, thank you for sitting down and sharing a little bit of your wisdom with us here.
Well, thank you for your interest. It's good to be here.
So before we talk a little bit why you're here at IRF, why don't you give our audience a little bit of background. You have an impressive background as a diplomat.
Well, I was a U.S. diplomat for 20 years. I served at consulates and embassies overseas mainly, and I served as a political officer. In other words, I reported on what was going on politically in that country to Washington and got to know the politicians and all of that so that I could be, a go-between, mediator for Washington in that country. I served mainly in Europe and twice in Latin America, once in Mexico and once in Costa Rica. And it was a great experience. It fit my interests, and I was able to serve my country. It's also fascinating to be a Christian in diplomacy because, we believe in certain very strong black and white truths. And it's fascinating to be in this world of grays, trying to work out those truths. And there's nothing grayer than a world in which you're dealing with people from different countries with different languages, different perspectives, different cultures. So it was a fascinating time. And since I left the Foreign Service, I have been doing a lot of work with the Religious Freedom Institute here in Washington, D.C. I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but I work for the Religious Freedom Institute. And I am their senior fellow for Europe, promoting freedom of religion in Europe.
Well, now I know where I want to go back to because, in my world with Christian CEOs, we can speak truth to them, but they instantly go to how, right? I mean, they don't even think, okay, but how? How does that happen practically? And you mentioned how it's interesting to live out your faith as a diplomat. Give us some examples and give us some of how you navigated that, maybe where some difficulties were, and where maybe you had some successes doing that.
Yes, well, I think you always have to pay a price for being a Christian or being a believer in anything, because you have to decide what's most important to you, your faith or your career. And my decision was very much that my faith is more important than my career. Nevertheless, I did have quite a bit of success. I very often came in for opposition or so forth, or other things like that. But I think basically people respected me and liked me because I was a hard worker. I think Christians should be hard workers in whatever job they are called to, because that's part of their calling.
Right.
And I liked and respected other people. So, and to me, that's the main thing really about living out your Christian faith in the world, including in the professional world. Like, every human being is made in the image of God.
Yeah.
They are due all kinds of respect. And another thing that the Bible teaches us is that we are all sinners. We are all saved by grace, not by our own works. And so an attitude that I try to take, and I certainly don't succeed in it all the time because I'm a sinner, but the attitude that I try to take is humility toward myself because I'm aware of my flaws, and respect for others because I know that they are made in the image of God. And that always kind of was a basis that worked out very well for me. I love intellectual give and take, and I had many, many talks about the Christian faith and the various beliefs in it with many of my colleagues in the State Department and also with many of the people that I met in foreign occasions. And I think for many people it was a little bit more interesting than just talking about whatever issue we were dealing with, which of course we did.
Yeah.
Right? Just to give you one example of how it made a difference in what I did was when I was in Brussels at the U.S. mission to the European Union. So if it's not to a country, it's called a mission, not an embassy. So basically, it was the embassy to the European Union in Brussels. And Romania at the time was a candidate for EU membership. It now is an EU member. And there's all kinds of stipulations that a country has to fulfill to become an EU member. And one of the stipulations, because of a number of political machinations, was that Hungary had to outlaw, Romania had to outlaw international adoptions. Because some people in the European Union considered it to be child trafficking, cultural imperialism, etc. Well, there were about 1,000 prospective American parents whose adoptions of Romanian children were already in the pipeline when Romania declared it illegal. And so it was fully part of my job to try to get that reversed. But I worked on it very, very hard because it meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
The idea that these children who could have homes and families that loved them were to be left probably in orphanages until they were 18 because of the wrong views of certain people. So I worked very hard on it, lobbied the European Parliament, and they actually reversed the declaration that it was illegal and made it legal only for the pipeline cases, not for all children.
Right.
But you know, in politics, also in diplomacy, you've got to have the possible and take the possible, and that's what was possible, and that was very much motivated by my Christian faith.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how many children was that?
About 1,100.
So in essence, that was 1,000 adoptions.
Yes.
So, and I had to bring this up because we have an attorney that's an adoption attorney, and he finds in every page of the Bible an adoption story. So
Yes.
I can tell him we now know a diplomat that did 100 and 100 or 1,100. How many was it?
1,100.
1,100, 1,100 of them in one whack.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I mean, we're adopted children of
Yes,
God.
amen.
Right?
Yes.
All we Gentile Christians are
Now
adopted
you're speaking
children
his
of God.
language.
Yes.
So you are working on something about, Katrina sent me a little note, and you have a passion about secularization and faith
Yes.
that you're working on right now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so in the West, so I cover Europe. So we're talking basically Western culture here. And of course, we're talking cultures that, in the broader view, are very similar to the United States, Canada, the West. And in the West, we live in a society that has radically secularized in many ways. Actually, I think a better word for it, secularization is the more common word, but in terms of the West, really it's de-Christianization. Societies that developed as Christian societies with the Judeo-Christian ethic in Europe and the United States, Canada, they have now become, they've been de-Christianized.
Wow.
And so even in cases like in the United States where there are plenty of believing Christians, I don't know what the percentage would be, 20%, 25% of real believing Christians, that's a lot. But still, what we see in the movies, business culture, what we see in universities, what we see in bureaucracies of the various levels of government, and very often what we see in government itself is very secularized, based on a secularized view of human beings. So what does that do to religious freedom? Well, interestingly enough, the de-Christianization of Western societies has happened from Christian roots. So you get good things that have been changed and perverted in many ways because the Christian basis of them has been taken out. So you get, for example, the dignity of everyone, which we believe in.
Yeah.
But the dignity of everyone gets twisted around until that means everyone has the right to choose for themselves how they should live. And any belief system that says there's a certain right way to live and a certain wrong way to live, and that there's a certain objective truth that regardless of our preferences is true, that becomes something that's seen as oppressive and bigoted and so forth. And so that's the main religious freedom problem, in my view, both here in North America and in Europe. That, for example, traditional Christian beliefs about marriage, that it's a lifelong union of one man and one woman, and about family, that that's the ideal basis for a family, the marriage of a father and a mother for a child. Those things have become, in the eyes of many people, bigoted. And so what happens then is you get anti-discrimination laws, and in Europe, very often hate speech laws, which are misinterpreted and misused in order to restrict the freedom of religion of traditional Christians, Muslims, Jews, anyone who believes in marriage between one man and one woman.
Right.
For example, there is a Christian woman in Finland, Päivi Räsänen. She, in fact, was the Minister of the Interior, cabinet-level official in Finland, and she's still a member of the Finnish Parliament. She is a believing Christian, and in 2019, she tweeted a passage from Romans 1 about homosexuality being a sin. And for that, she has been under investigation and at 2 levels of trial, awaiting a 3rd level for the past 5 years. She was declared innocent by the first court, but then it was appealed by the prosecutor and went to the Court of Appeals, who declared her innocent. Now she's awaiting trial before the Finnish Supreme Court for quoting the Bible.
Yeah.
And it's considered hate speech. Now this is a kind and wonderful Christian woman who doesn't hate anyone.
Right.
She was simply expressing the fact that she as a Christian believes in traditional sexuality. And for that, in a democratic country, a country that's traditionally Lutheran, she has faced trial and possible imprisonment for up to 2 years for the last 5 years.
For one verse.
Yes, and this is one of the most egregious cases, but people lose their jobs for expressing their faith and so forth and so on. So this is a real problem.
So as we get ready to wrap things up, and I don't know that we can do this, but this is a very interesting conversation. What do we do about this?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question and a hard question, because trying to fight this is trying to fight the way entire societies have trended in a de-Christianized direction. But I think one thing is we need to tell the truth. We need to show how these things go against the constitutions and the basic political beliefs, freedom, democracy, etc., of these countries themselves. We need to point that out clearly and strongly. That's one thing. I think another thing is that we need to point out that there's a difference between disagreement and discrimination. As I said, it's usually the anti-discrimination laws or hate speech laws that are misused.
Yeah.
Well, it's not anti-gay to believe in marriage between one man and a woman. That is not anti-gay.
Yeah.
And it's not anti-gay to believe that human beings are either male or female. It's not anti-transgender to believe that. It's just simply a belief that many people very reasonably have. I think we need to point out, religious freedom law does not impose a certain religion on everyone.
Right.
Why should anti-discrimination law be misused to impose a new sexual orthodoxy, let's say,
Right.
on traditional religious believers. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, very good. So we're speaking to primarily Christian business owners and their teams. Any final thoughts to impart to them that you would like to encourage them to still stick bold to their faith?
Absolutely. There are many, many very, very successful Christian business people that I know in Europe. So, you know, absolutely stick to your faith, and you can do so much good in the world of business as a Christian. I think mainly, you know, again, as I said earlier, being a Christian means being a hard worker.
Yeah.
Right? Do your job well. Make sure you've got a good company that provides people the service or the product that they want at a high quality.
Yeah.
But I really do believe, you know, witnessing for the Christian faith is not being afraid to talk about it in unusual situations like business meetings, etc. But just as much as that, it's modeling the type of person that Jesus Christ showed us how to be. A good and loving person, exhibiting the fruit of the Holy Spirit. Most people cannot help but like that.
Yes. Yes.
So, and business is a tremendous arena in which to do such a thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing how you're a pattern in your career and around the world and encouraging us very boldly and unapologetically. So thank you very much. I'm so blessed and encouraged by your sharing today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you for watching. If our ministry mandate of restoring in all nations the preeminence of Jesus Christ in business and our media mission of telling the world what Jesus is doing in business resonates with you, please support this ministry. Your financial support will help us continue to fulfill the Great Commission as missionaries in the nation's public squares of business. God bless you, and thank you for your prayers and support.